Why are there more people who have walked on the moon than have visited the deepest part of the ocean? Do you really think scientists know what's down there? Before 2021, the number of people who had visited the deepest point on Earth could be counted on 2 hands. Meanwhile, 12 people have stood on the moon. Nearly 100,000 have reached the summit of Everest. The moon is 380,000 kilometers away. Everest is 8,800 meters high. But the deepest place on Earth is right beneath our feet, 11,000 meters down. For over half a century, we have fought desperately to fly into the sky. Yet, almost no one has touched this pitch-black world below. Today, we don't look up, we go down. We will dive from the surface, meter by meter, until we reach the very bottom, the Mariana Trench. I'll tell you now, the deeper you go, the more anxious you'll feel. Not because it's terrifying, but because you'll realize we know almost nothing about that world. Let's start at the surface. If you jump into the Pacific right now, sunlight can penetrate about 200 meters. This is called the sunlight zone. Why only 200 meters? Because seawater absorbs light. It gets darker the further you go. 200 meters sounds deep, but it's only 2% to 3% of the ocean's total volume. It's just a thin layer. Yet, this layer supports almost all life on Earth. The logic is simple. Only here is there light. Light means photosynthesis. Phytoplankton can live. Small fish eat the plankton. Big fish eat the small fish. Sharks eat the big fish. It stacks up, layer by layer. The tuna, salmon, and hairtail you eat all live in these 200 meters. There is something else you might not know. Half of the oxygen you are breathing right now is produced by the phytoplankton in this layer. Rather than calling the ocean a home for fish, it's better to call it the lungs of the planet. But these lungs only work at the very top. This is also the only part of the ocean we truly understand. Keep going down past 200 meters. Sunlight can no longer reach here. This area is the twilight zone. It is stuck in a permanent state of after dusk, before night. The light is gone, but you can see some fish glowing. This is bioluminescence, a unique skill of deep-sea creatures. Some use it to find mates, others use it to hunt. You might think that without sunlight, life would become scarce. It's exactly the opposite. Scientists estimate that the number of fish in this layer alone might be more than the rest of the ocean combined. The most numerous vertebrate on Earth is a tiny fish, about 7 centimeters long, with sharp teeth. Trillions of them hide in this darkness. That's more than all the humans who have ever lived. Yet, we only discovered they existed in the last few decades. Down past 1,000 meters, we enter the midnight zone. There is no more twilight, only eternal night. The water temperature is a constant 4 degrees Celsius. The pressure is high enough to crush a civilian submarine like a soda can. Nuclear submarines are powerful, right? But even they reach their limit at a few hundred meters. Deep sea pressure would still break them. But life holds on. In this pitch-black water, creatures start to grow massive. This is called deep-sea gigantism. The reason is simple. Food is too scarce. Organic matter sinking from the surface gets eaten by other layers on the way down. Very little makes it here. So, being large is an advantage. You can eat bigger prey and survive longer periods of hunger. The giant squid lives here. The largest one ever seen was 13 meters long, but scientists said something profound. There is no reason to think that 13 meters is their limit. There may be bigger ones, we just haven't run into them. The total footage recorded by human cameras in this region is probably shorter than the time you spend scrolling through short videos in a single day. Continue down to 8,000 meters. You have officially entered the territory of the Mariana Trench. Why is this trench so deep? Because this is where 2 tectonic plates collide. The Pacific plate slides under the Philippine plate. It has been pushing down toward the Earth's core for hundreds of millions of years. This created the deepest crack on our planet. Even the shallowest parts of the trench are over 8,000 meters deep. The pressure is over 800 times that of sea level. How to describe it? It's like having a 1-ton weight pressing down on your fingernail. This force can rupture the cells of most living organisms. For a long time, the The scientific community believed life was impossible at this depth. Then came 1960. Two men tore that conclusion to shreds. Don Walsh of the U.S. Navy and Swiss oceanographer Jacques Picard squeezed into a submersible called the Trieste. Their goal was the deepest point of the trench, the Challenger Deep. Depth 10,935 meters. This submarine was essentially a steel ball. It relied on raw thickness to survive. At 9,000 meters, there was a sudden, loud bang. They looked at each other and checked the instruments. They couldn't see a problem, so they gritted their teeth and kept going. They didn't know that an observation window had already cracked. That window was the only thing standing between them and the abyss. With a cracked window, they dove another 2,000 meters. After nearly 5 hours, they hit the bottom. The submersible kicked up a cloud of silt. They couldn't see anything. When the silt finally cleared, they looked out through a tiny 5-centimeter porthole. A flat fish swam past the seafloor. That was the first time humans confirmed with their own eyes, in the deepest, darkest place on Earth, something is alive. The story should have been a beginning, right? The door to a new world was open. Mass exploration should have followed, but it didn't. After Walsh and Picard came up, no one went back down for over 50 years. In that time, nearly 100,000 people climbed Everest. 12 people went to the moon. Humans started throwing probes at Mars. But no one went to the deepest point on our own planet. Not until 2012, when director James Cameron spent his own money to build a sub and completed the second manned dive. After that, another decade of silence. It wasn't until 2021 that the total number of people who had visited the Challenger Deep finally surpassed the number of people who had walked on the moon. So, how much do we know about the Mariana Trench now? One number explains it all. The Mariana Trench is 2,500 kilometers long and 70 kilometers wide. Its length is equivalent to 5 Colorado Grand Canyons tied together. According to current statistics, humans have discovered about 400 species across all deep-sea trenches globally. 400? You might think that's okay, but if you go into any ordinary freshwater lake and cast a net, you could find thousands of species. The Mariana Trench alone is half the size of Japan. Yet the number of species we've found is lower than in a single lake. Think about that comparison again. 12 people on the moon. Only recently did the number of people at the bottom of the trench pass that. We know more about that desolate rock 380,000 kilometers away than we do about the sea beneath our feet. And the way we explore the trench? It sounds ridiculous. We drop a camera down with a fish tied to it as bait. We let it sit there for a few hours to see what swims by. This is currently our primary way of exploring the deep sea. Think about it in a different setting. If everything we knew about the Grand Canyon came from dropping a few night vision cameras in one spot at night with a piece of meat nearby, would we know what lives there? Would we know if there are roads, snakes, eagles? Impossible. But that is how we understand the deep sea. Why not send more people? Because things go wrong too easily. In 2014, an unmanned submersible failed in the Kermadec Trench north of New Zealand. It imploded and was destroyed. In 2023, the Titan submersible disintegrated instantly at a depth of 3,800 meters while exploring the Titanic. 5 people were lost. One of them was Hamish Harding. 2 years prior, he had completed a dive to the Challenger Deep. He was the record holder for the longest time spent on the seafloor. Things can go wrong at 3,800 meters. The deepest part of the trench is 10,935 meters. If you flipped Mount Everest upside down and dropped it in, the peak would still be 2,000 meters below the surface. Yet, in a place where even steel can be deformed by pressure, life is doing just fine. There is a single-celled organism called a giant amoeba. It can grow to 20 centimeters, about the size of a soccer ball. How can a single cell get that big? Because in this high-pressure environment, normal cell structures would fail. These creatures evolved a completely different survival mechanism. We still don't fully understand it. Then there's the Mariana snailfish. It is the deepest living fish known to man. But known is the key word. Does anything live deeper? No one knows, because no one has seen it. This brings me to a question. If one day we truly finish exploring the deep sea, what will we find? Will it be more strange creatures, or something we can't even imagine? There is no answer. Because we haven't even seen 5% of the ocean. That is the most bone-chilling part of this whole thing. It's not how scary the deep sea is, it's that we know almost nothing about it. 70% of the Earth's surface is ocean. The average depth is over 3,000 meters. Less than 5% has been explored. We've sent several probes to Mars. We've taken high-definition photos of Pluto. We're thinking about colonizing other planets. But the ocean right outside our front door is pitch black, and no one is looking. So, I'll leave you with that opening question again. Is it normal that more people have been to the moon than the bottom of the ocean? What else is hiding in that darkness?